first 7, you have breakfast first thing in the morning, right? 7 o'clock. The first 7 are your cervical vertebrae. Okay? You have lunch in the middle of the day at 12 o'clock. There are 12 thoracic vertebrae in the middle. And then you have dinner at 5 at the end of the day. There are 5 lumbar vertebrae at the end of your spine. Okay?
That makes so much sense.
Yep. Another way to differentiate your cervical vertebrae up on the top. Your cervical vertebrae are the only ones that have these transverse foramen right here. Holes on the side. Okay? And that's to allow the nerves and the blood up to the brain. Okay? The other vertebrae, if you'll notice, do not have holes on the side. Okay? So cervical vertebrae. Your lab book, guys.
I should get one for you.
Okay, we're just all waiting for you.
I know, really, I was nervous. Here, find it. That's it. It's in your hands now.
Wrong lab. Okay.
You're too
So,
far.
general features of the vertebrae is the body, right? The body of the vertebrae. It's okay. I'm just the body of the vertebrae. The spinous process, things sticking out here. Transverse processes, things coming out on the side. Okay. Superior and inferior articular facets. I'm going to talk about them in a minute. The vertebral arch, just the arch, not too hard. The vertebral foramen, not too hard. Right, let's start with our cervical vertebrae. Your first 2 cervical vertebrae are pretty special. Okay. First of all, this is your C1. Okay. You'll notice your C1 does not have a spinous process. Okay, it's flat. Okay. The other thing you'll notice on your C1, it has these nice little fossa right here. And those are going to articulate really nicely with those occipital condyles on the bottom of the skull. Look at that. Okay? Your C1 is your Atlas. You know the Greek god Atlas? He's holding up the world. Well, your C1 holds up your world. Okay? That's your C1. Your C2, if we look at the C2, you see the spine on this one? And the spines on your cervical vertebrae, they're called bifid or bifid. The spine is kind of split in 2, right? As opposed to like the spine on this one. Okay? That's another characteristic of a cervical vertebrae. It's got a bifid spinous process. Okay? The other thing about your C2, it has this big knob right here. It's called the dens or the odontoid process right there. And what that does is that gives you a pivot point so you can turn your head right and left. Okay? So that's what that does on your C2. And your C2 is called your axis. Okay, so the Atlas holds up your head. Then you have your C2, your axis, which allows you to turn your head right and left. Okay? Okay. Then we have our thoracic vertebrae. The thoracic vertebrae are your giraffes. Okay? If you look at this thing in profile, that's a giraffe. Right? Right? You see that? Everybody see the giraffe? Okay? So that's your thoracic vertebrae. Those are your giraffe. Okay? They have the long nose of the giraffe, right? Okay? Long nose. The ears of the giraffe right here, the transverse processes. And then the horns of the giraffe. The horns of the giraffe are actually the superior facets. Facet is a flat surface, right? Those are the superior facets. If you look at the bottom of the one above that, it's got these flat spots here under the nose. Those are the inferior facets. And look at how nicely those fit together. Okay? So the superior and inferior facets are where the vertebrae themselves articulate with one another. Okay? Good. Okay. The ears of the giraffes also have flat surfaces on those, which means something's going to articulate with them. What articulates with your thoracic vertebrae? Your ribs, the head of your ribs, right? So if we get a rib out here, here's a rib. Okay? This is the head of the rib. This is the tubercle, right? A tubercle is a little prominence on a bone, right? The tubercle. And this blunt end here, that's the sternal end. That's where the cartilage is going to connect it up to your sternum. Okay? But if we're looking for now, so here's my thoracic vertebrae, right? This is in the back. This is the bumps you feel on your spine in the back, right? The head of the rib articulates with the ear of the giraffe. Look how nice that goes together. Okay? So your giraffe ears are your costal facets. Okay? It articulates just like that. Actually, it also articulates up against the body, just like that. Okay? So those are the costal facets where your ribs articulate. Okay? And then we have our lumbar. Got a good lumbar? Our lumbar vertebrae. First of all, lumbar vertebrae, look at the size of the body, right? These are real chunky. These are real hefty vertebrae because they have to support all of this above them, okay? So that's a real obvious characteristic. And it's a moose. It's a moose, right? That's a moose, okay? And again, well, these two are never going to articulate. They're way different sizes. But anyway, the superior and inferior facets, the flat spots again, right? The ears, that's where the vertebrae themselves articulate, the superior and inferior facets. Okay, and of course you have the, the disc in between. Okay? We don't have to worry about ribs articulating with the ears or the horns on these things. Your ribs don't articulate on your lower back, right? You'd have some real bad deformity. Okay? All right. What else? Sacrum. These are ones that are articulated. The sacrum is at the end of the spine, right, with the fused vertebrae that form your sacrum. Okay, so this is your sacrum. The base of the sacrum is actually this part here, where your last lumbar vertebrae articulates. So this would be the base of the sacrum right here. Okay, the last lumbar vertebrae sits right on top of the base. Okay, the apex is this end down here. What's this little tail thing here? That's the coccyx, right? Your tailbone. Okay, so the apex of your sacrum is right where your coccyx attaches at the bottom. Okay. The sacral promontory, which you can't see on this one because it's all articulated, it's just a little ridge on the top of the base. Okay. The auricular surface. Why do we even have a sacrum? Anybody want to guess? Why do we need a sacrum? You need a sacrum to hook your legs to, right? Your pelvis hooks on either side of your sacrum, okay? These roughened areas right here, that's where your pelvic bones attach, right there, okay? Those are called the auricular surfaces on either side, okay? You need to attach your legs to something. The superior articular process on the back here, again, superior process is going to articulate with the inferior articular facet on the last lumbar vertebrae. Okay? It's just those bumps that are going to articulate with that last vertebrae. Okay, so these are the facets on the sacrum, and those are articulating with the facets on the vertebrae. Okay? Foramina are just the holes from the fused vertebrae. Okay, those are the foramina, the holes. Okay? The body is the body. Okay, the medial sacral crest is just where those spines of the vertebrae come together and they make a ridge, right? So that's the medial sacral crest right there. Okay, and then the sacral hiatus is this part right here, just above where the coccyx attaches. It's this little space right here. Is the hiatus. There. Okay. And then, of course, this is your coccyx. And if you've ever fallen and jammed that sucker, that's unpleasant. Okay? Good with those? I mean, the vertebrae are